APJ Abdul Kalam. The former president once said, if you want to shine like a sun, first burn like a sun. This is just one of the many inspirational words from the president who inspired one and all. The love, the respect and the gratitude evident in the 25 pictures first that we are about to show you of how the nation paid an emotional tribute to the people's president. For India, Dr. Kalam is one sun that will never set. Now, another famous quote of Dr. Kalam reads, "Don't declare a holiday on my death. Instead, work an extra day." But India's most loved president's demise has set a pall of gloom across the country. Parliament adjourned today and people from all walks of life, especially children, paid their final tribute at his residence in Delhi, promising to carry forward his rich legacy.
A full guard of honor for India's best-loved president. As even the Prime Minister broke protocol to pay his last respect to India's missile man. As 10 Rajaji Road in the capital received APJ Abdul Kalam one final time, thousands gathered to pay homage to the man who inspired an entire generation.
Unprecedented overflowing of human emotion here at 10 Rajaji Marg, where the mortal remains of former President APJ Abdul Kalam is laid inside, and around me is a amount of people gathered here, all common people, citizens of Delhi who reside in Delhi or otherwise gathered here, braving the sun, braving the Delhi summer, just to pay their last respect for the people's President APJ Abdul Kalam.
The outpouring of respect and adulation for Kalam made it clear just how much India will miss its legendary scientist. From school children, whom he loved most, to sporting heroes, to politicians, India bid a teary farewell to the man who was the people's president.
He was in the contemporary period, after 77, only he was elected unopposed.
On Thursday, Kalam's last rites will be held in his hometown in Tamil Nadu. The Prime Minister is expected to be in Rameshwaram. He died doing what he has devoted his life to, tending and nurturing young minds. Even his final video appearance was a missive of inspiration.
He gives dreams to the youth to perform, excel and be a unique scientist.
The nation is in mourning after losing its tallest leader. A rare combination of humility, intelligence and grace. Kalam's vision remains embedded in the country's collective conscience.
Now, remembering his school days, Dr. Kalam once said, by the time he completed his education at the Squats High School at Ramanathapuram, he was a confident boy with a determination to be successful. India today's Srisha Reddy travelled to his school, where the former president's legacy lives on.
Before he became president and before he took India to new heights of scientific endeavour, APJ Abdul Kalam was a high school student in Ramanathapuram. After his sudden demise, the school in Ramanathapuram and his hometown Rameshwaram have been in mourning.
A pall of gloom descended at this school and is seen as a black day in the history of school, which is 70 kilometers away from Rameshwaram, that is Abdul Kalam's native place. His simplicity has left an indelible mark in the minds of these children, as once he interacted with them, and the people in this town see this as a loss in their own family, and they've lost the son of the soil.
Teachers fondly remember Kalam as a person who used to love everybody.
He used to love everybody. he got that seat from this school. He is, not for this district, not for this state, not for this country. He is for our world.
Born into a Tamil middle-class household in the holy town of Rameswaram, a young Kalam drew inspiration from all possible quarters.
The last rites of former President APJ Abdul Kalam will be held in his native town in Rameshwaram in keeping with his family's wishes, and the body will be flown into Rameshwaram from Madurai and will be brought to House of Kalam, which is the ancestral house of the former president, and will be kept for the public to pay homage in an open bus stand. And finally, the great legend will be put to rest on Thursday at 11 a.m. With camera person Daniel Srisha Reddy in Rameshwaram for India Today.
And what we are going to do tonight is look at friends of Kalam, people who knew him intimately, to try and find out the man behind the president. We're joined by several of them, and we'll be joined by more in the first part of our program tonight. Dr. Y.S. Rajan, senior scientist at ISRO, Dr. Kalam's close friend, he is with us. Major General J.K. Bansal, former director of the DRDO Health Project, who worked very closely with Dr. Kalam, is with us. And the personal physician to Dr. Kalam, also Dr. M. Wali, he is with us, physician to the president. I will also be joined by Shrijan Pal Singh, someone who was with Dr. Kalam when he died yesterday. And Professor N. Balakrishnan, Kalam's close confidant and scientist from the Indian Institute of Science, is also joining us. And I want to come to you, Dr. Balakrishnan, first, because you were among the last to speak to him. I believe you all had a long midnight conversation the night before he passed away. Dr. Kalam, when he makes a friend, I am told, is a friend for life. But for you were family. There are lots of instances, apparently, where he made major contributions to your life. Would you like to share some of it? The man, when he was not the president, when he was not the scientist, but for you, he was a friend for life. Tell us what he was at a personal level, sir.
For me, much more than that personally, I always felt he was like my mother, because for the first time, when whenever I call him, the first word that will come from him is, have you eaten? All other things are unimportant to him. What great achievements you made and all of that are unimportant. Number two, he's like a father to me, because whenever I needed advice on my own family front, I think he was there to give me the advice. And the most important thing, like my own father, I think he gave the advice, never forced you to follow the advice. I mean, you can actually differ with him, don't have to completely go by the advice. I think he was still with you to give the advice again.
I want to ask you that, Dr. Rajan, could you have intellectual debates with Dr. Kalam? Was he willing to listen to another view, to a view which was contrary to his own?
We have done several not just now when he became a president, over the 50 years I have a relationship with him.
Would you argue? Would you argue with each other? Was he ready for an argument?
We argue. I even sometimes tweet. All those things are there. It's deeply personal, so I would like to show some example.
Right.
This one, a lot of humor, some joking. Joking can even be little tripping and pulling down. All that, everything is there. Just as it will be between two brothers. Our relationship was more like a brothers. He was 12.5 years elder to me. So, but it is just like we do so many things.
Major General J.K. Bansal, at DRDO, he became a real institution, didn't he? For many of you, he must have been like a father figure.
Yes, he has been a father figure that my children, my son and my daughter, they got inspired from him. My daughter became engineer and my son became doctor. And now he discussed with them in depth all the knowledge. I was surprised that he was talking to my son, who is an eye specialist, that there is a narrow angle glaucoma, there is a broad angle glaucoma, and how do you treat. As a matter of fact, he has made medical facilities available to common man, and he produced many things. Another thing which very important happens in the month of March, very recently my son got married, I went to invite him, and I insisted upon that most of his colleagues who are doctors and many people are very eager to meet him and to get his blessings. Though he was out of station and he came directly to a marriage place and he blessed the couple over there, and he was surrounded by all guests and they left their eating and everything. And what was most important and most heartening to me, that the Senai people who were playing in a corner, he went over there and listened and appreciated them, which showed his love to music as well as that he is concerned for each and everyone.
Right.
As such, he used to have veena in his place, and he was staying in Sri Fort,
that's right, he played,
village. We used to go over there.
He played the Rudra Veena. We sometimes forget he enjoyed playing it, didn't he?
Yes, he used to play Veena.
Yes.
And he used to teach my children also. They were very keen when they they wanted to go with me.
Right.
And then he will chat with them. He used to talk to me officially, and he used to interact with them in all matters, and he used to inspire them.
Can I bring in Dr. Wali? Dr. Wali, you were the physician. You were the physician to the president. Dr. Wali, you know, what was the secret of his enormous energy, Dr. Wali? Because, you know, you remember Dr. Kalam till the very end as energetic. I said this yesterday. I once tried to do an interview with him, walking in the gardens of Rashtrapati Bhavan. He just outwalked me. He was just too fast.
Yes.
Where did the energy come from, Dr. Wali? What was his diet like?
Well, no, I was, you see, I would describe it in a different way. This energy was the reflection of his righteousness and one very pure approach to the life, and he would rather forget his meals many times, as the old butler tell me still, and he was developing and charging himself by the self-generated energy. I have a poem for you, Rajdeep sir, if you kindly permit me. These are 9 lines would summarize him, and it would portray him very rightly. I would read it. He played many a part and touched many a heart. He was born in poverty, he embraced diversity. A man of laurels and research you don't find in any search. A heart so crystal clear, a mind that could master the nuclear. He could pass any test in aplomb and could also make a bomb. But he was a soul so tender, I stress here, you will not find one kinder. He had never any fright, but did not believe in any fight. He was love and righteousness from daylight to darkness. He was a student at any stage. Ironically, he died in a college. This is very touching poem to me today. I wrote it myself to read it out to you.
Right. I'm going to bring in Professor Balakrishnan. I'm going to bring in Professor Balakrishnan for a moment. I'll come back to you, Dr. Wali. I'm going to bring in Professor Balakrishnan because he, you know, was someone who perhaps, as I said, was one of the last few. We'll also be talking to Shinjan Pal Singh, who was his close aide, who was with him in Shillong. But Professor Balakrishnan, today you sit with a portrait behind you of APJ Abdul Kalam. I believe this was a gift that Dr. Kalam gave to you.
The portrait is also a special painting by which the portrait actually, it moves. You know, the focus of the eyes, I mean the eyeballs, the shoes, the crease on the pants and so on, they also move with you if you move outside. I think that gives you a very great feeling that he's watching you from wherever you are, and watching us to probably bless us for a better future, and to make sure that we don't get into any ill effects of the other things. And so I think he will be there with us forever.
You know, Mr. Balakrishnan, the video message he sent you was screened, his last video message was screened by you with the students and faculty of the Indian Institute of Science. In the video, he kept saying, "My friend Balki," referring to you. It appears that for him, friendships mattered a lot, particularly with all his old science colleagues, his colleagues from DRDO. More than the politicians, he was more comfortable in your presence and the presence of students.
Yes. No, it's a personal message to Balki, and also if you see how he ended it, my best wishes to Jyoti, Murli and Kanan. They're my two sons and my wife. And all along he had shown you that I think it's not just to be friends on a materialistic world, friends on a technological world. I think only if you care for the other person, I think you get the best out of him.
Right.
And that's why, you know, I always felt I was pretty close to him, but whenever I met many other people, I think about 1 billion people feel that they are much more closer to him than me. I think that speaks volumes about the man.
You know, Dr. Rajan, what were his hobbies? When Dr. Kalam was not being the missile man, when he was not lecturing students, when he was not being president, what did Dr. Kalam, Dr. Rajan like to do in his spare time? Read, write? What really motivated him in his spare time, sir?
I think you should not split Kalam into a missile man and all these things. He had all of them together. On one side missiles will go on one side strength respect strength goes on another side what he was doing with the TIFAC, that is things like social and other things, right from agriculture to every item, that goes on. So I think you should not split him into saying that he had a spare time. Yes, he had a spare time, but that will be along with these.
Was he into, would he write his own tweets? I've seen tweets by Dr. Kalam. Would he put out his own tweets, sir? Would he actually go to social media? Would he go through the iPad, do it all on his own?
I don't think he was so much going through every one of it, but he was very familiar with it. He was using some of them. But I don't think that he was only overwhelmed by those. He had so many other items. He much more enjoyed his directly interacting with people.
Right.
One thing you asked me before, intellectual discussions, he not only with me, my son Vikram, sometimes he will ask him, I am going to ask him. And he is now around 30 to 33, but right from the age of 25, he used to ask him. Then you know what he will do? Sometimes twinkle a little mischief. Vikram is Rajan, Vikram is far intelligent than you. You will do that also.
So he liked to play mischief. I'm going to Srijan Pal Singh, Kalam's aide, who was with him on the last flight and Kalam's last journey to Shillong. Srijan, you've written a very moving Facebook post today. And one of the things that you said is that when you asked Kalam how he would like to be remembered, whether as a president, scientist, writer, missile man, India 2020, he apparently told you he wanted to be remembered as a teacher. And really in that sense, that last journey, tell us a little bit more about him, where he was really being a teacher once again in front of the students at IIM Shillong.
Absolutely, Rajdeep. He told, and he's been telling this for a very long time, whenever we have this conversation, is that he doesn't want to be remembered as anything missile man or nuclear scientist or anything other than a teacher. He feels that teacher is something which identifies him the best. And more than that, he also said, and this is kind of very ironical and very, we had a conversation about a couple of weeks back where we were discussing about how sometimes the newer generation does not take care of the older generation, which kind of pained him a lot. And he said that, but you know what, I don't think anybody should pass away with a long drag. People should pass away. The best death possible is to stand tall and be working while one leaves the planet. And that's you know, if you see what happened to Sir, that's exactly what happened. He was standing tall on the podium, delivering a lecture, and doing his favorite thing, a teacher, and that makes him an eternal teacher.
And even when he was, I read in your post, even when you all were driving from Guwahati to Shillong, he was more worried about the security guards and whether they were being tired. And he right till the very end, the simplicity never left him. He was tired of being a VVIP.
Absolutely, you know, I remember him telling that sometimes I feel I'm in jail. It's just that I can choose where to take my jail, but I really cannot get out of it. But yeah, that day he said that We had about 4 hours of conversation because there were a couple of hours in the aircraft and a couple of hours while we were going to Shillong. And there were 3 things which struck. One was he said that he was very sad about what happened in Punjab. And he said that, look, we're going to take a course on creating a livable planet Earth. But how can you make a planet Earth livable if there's so much of hatred? And we have to find long-term solutions to terrorism, to hatred, to jealousy. And that has to begin at the younger people, the youth, the children. A segment which he really wanted to work with the best. Then he was worried about what was happening in the parliament. That's been going around in his mind for the past 3-4 days. He's been worried that, you know, he's been a president for 2 governments of different parties. He's been an ex-president for 3 different governments for 2 different parties. And he said every time, no matter what happens, there's so much of time which is lost of the nation on all kinds of standoffs. And what could be a solution where the opposition does not feel cheated and yet the government is able to run the parliament efficiently? And he said, this is a solution I want to be generated from my IIM Shillong students. And he was about to give a surprise assignment later that night when he passed away on this topic. And the third thing was, there was a pilot running ahead of our car which had 3 guards. 2 of them were sitting and 1 was standing, and he insisted that this guy should sit down. Because he said, why should anybody stand for me? I don't need this. And this guy is standing out in the sun, there's so much of wind in his face, he's so pained. And why should he be pained because of me? And he was feeling kind of guilty. And he asked me to radio him to sit down, but that didn't work. Then he asked me to indicate him, that also didn't work. So he said, okay, fine, then I'll meet him. And as soon as he landed in IIM Shillong, the first thing he did was that to make me identify this guard, get it to him. And the first thing he said was, thank you for doing this for me, I'm so sorry that I made you do this. And the next thing he said, I know you're tired, can I serve you something, like would you like to have some food? And the guard was so shocked and touched by his humility. He said, sir, I can stand with you for a whole day, it doesn't matter, you are my idol.
That's a fascinating story, Srijan.
That thinking mind, that sensitive mind.
Yeah, I know, it's a fascinating story that you're telling us. It's a moving story that till the very end he was concerned about the fact that the security guard with him was standing rather than being allowed to sit. And the point you made about parliamentary disruption, presumably till the very end he wanted solutions from the students, is it? Did he have any solution himself, or he believed the students would offer him better solutions?
No, so actually he said, so it kind of ended the discussion when he said let's make an assignment, but then it revived because it occurred to him that how can I ask solutions from my students when I don't have one my own. So he said, okay, so next 1 hour we're going to think through a solution. And we discussed many of those, whether we can have an independent council for a resolution of like an ombudsman for the parliament, which comprises of the Supreme Court, Chief Justice, the leader of the opposition, the leader of the House, who does an ombudsman kind of a work for the parliament, and what will be the judicial liability of that. So we were just starting to discuss it. That was something which he actually wanted to write a larger piece or larger research on with the help of the IIM Shillong students.
So probably another book would have been there. But just a final word, Srinjan. Today lots of tributes are flowing in. Many of his friends have spoken on this program to us. How would you best like to remember Dr. Saab, or Sir as you call him?
So Kalam sir is somebody, to me he's never going to die, because physical body he might have given up, but his ideas will live strong, and not just in me, but 1.25 billion people of this country and many other countries actually. I think it's high time. Dr. Kalam always said one thing, my greatest dream is to see a billion smile on a billion faces. I think our smile giver has gone, but it's now the onus is on us, the billion people, to ensure that the dreams of our smile giver, the person who gave us so many smiles, so much of self-respect, so much of indigenization, so much of confidence, we repay him. And the biggest repayment which will happen to Dr. Kalam is in his vision of India 2020, in his vision of Pura, the providing urban amenities in rural areas, in his vision to have the theme of work with integrity and succeed with integrity, in his vision to have the ignited mind of the youth, light up this country and take India to its destined place which Dr. Kalam wanted it to be.
You know, Srinjan, as I said, your Facebook post today has been most moving about the last hours that you spent with Dr. Kalam. You were truly fortunate to have spent so much time with him, as indeed have all my guests who've joined me today. I appreciate each one of you taking time to share some memories that you've had of Dr. Kalam on this program. Very special to have friends talking about the former president, the much-loved president. Thank you all very much for joining us at this moment. But let's be honest, the one thing that stood out was his love for students and children. Let us sacrifice our today so that our children can have a better tomorrow. Dr. Kalam was known for his extreme fondness for the young. So much so that the gates of Rashtrapati Bhavan were always open for them. And today we spoke to young IIT students from Mumbai and Kolkata who have been inspired by the former president's words and works.
People's President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, a motivation, a role model for a lot of students. I'm here between IIT Mumbai students who had the opportunity to meet Dr. Kalam. And with one lecture, they had something which they had learned from Dr. Kalam. So what inspired you a lot?
His most important message was to dream big and work hard to achieve those dreams.
And a lot of students who also had the opportunity to hear his lecture. There are a few more students with me here.
Yeah, he was our president in 2002 and he has no political career in that. So that motivated me a lot.
So you think that he thought that you should do something for the country and with your services or with education you can change the country?
Actually, he gave a message that if you want to eradicate the corruption, then we have to start it from the home itself.
That means keep trying, never give up. And a few more students who had the opportunity to meet him.
Dr. Kalam once said that for dreams to come true, you have to dream. So he inculcated me the desire to dream big, and at the same time remain humble and to my roots. He was a grounded person throughout his illustrious career, and that has inspired me to dream big, but at the same time remain humble and to my roots.
So how would you remember him?
I would remember him as an inspiration for all of the youth, mostly for the youth who want to have a career in politics. So mainly the image which we have of politicians in our mind, Dr. Kalam helped us remove that image and have that we can also do something in the politics and contribute a lot to the society.
So his main motto was that all the students with education, they can do something for the country. He has left he might not be here bodily with us, but his inspiration, his teachings will always be with us.
I have with me students and professors of IIM Calcutta and of course the IIM Karachi Acting Director Professor Anindya Sen. What are the memories that you share about Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam? Because he attended one of the lectures in 2011 and you were a part of it. How does it feel now?
Well, I think the secret behind his popularity was that he was a very down-to-earth person. You know, particularly when you become a president and you have occupied so many positions, top positions, then you tend to talk down from a height to people. But he was a kind of a person who would sort of speak straight from the heart and say very simple things.
Talking about the younger generation, what does the now generation, the next generation think about him and take him now?
Even after he was 83 years old, he was the youth icon of the country. So we can understand that how much the younger generation value him. We were looking forward to have him in the campus this year as well in the business summit. But unfortunately we couldn't have now. But I think his inspirational words will always be there with the younger generation to motivate us to do a good thing for the country.
I have read something that he said once, that dreams is not something that you see while you're sleeping, it's something that does not let you sleep. So that was the kind of positivity that he gave all these students in particular, because he made us feel that we can conquer the world, and that is, I guess, the best thing a teacher can do, and that's why we'll probably always remember him as one of the best teachers this country can have.
Yeah, so I remember my two encounters with him. One was in the International School of Bangalore and one was in my own campus, which was BITS Hyderabad. And both the times whenever he gave a speech, more than the president, it felt like it is coming from a professor, somebody who actually talks to the students. So one quote which I remember by Abdul Kalam sir is, goodbyes are always supposed to be short. I mean, never keep them long. So I think this is one of the things I'm always going to remember from him.
With camera person Chitrabhanu Pathak, this is Manogya Loiwal in Kolkata for India Today.
Okay, I spoke with Chetan Bhagat, an IIT and IIM alumnus, a short while ago. Just why was Dr. Kalam such a youth icon for all those students whose voices you heard there? Listen in. And joining me now is author, columnist Chetan Bhagat to try and understand why is Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam such a youth icon. You know, Chetan, would it be right for me to say that President Kalam was a rock star for India's young?
He was, and it's quite an exception. I mean, I'll give you a clear example. In 2003 and even in 2006, he was nominated in the MTV Youth Icon Awards. So you can imagine, like, here's a scientist, non-glamorous profession, somebody who's old, somebody who's president, and he was in the MTV, like, you know, that's as rock starish or as coolish as he gets. So it's quite a mystery as to why, you know, how he had such a hold on the youth, and it didn't even fade away with his not being president or anything.
No, but what was it? You know, today, for example, in the morning, I looked at social media. Every trend of India was linked to Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. It started from last night when the first reports came that Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam was no more. It seems that for New India, he was an iconic figure. Why? What was the secret? As you said, non-glamorous profession, a scientist, a missile man?
Yeah. I think it's, you know, he embodies some values which a lot of middle class people want to have. I mean, he comes from very humble origins. I think his father was a Muslim boatman ferrying people from Rameshwaram. He really comes from very, very simple background, and that kind of shows in his him. There's nothing hoity-toity about him, yet there is extraordinarily achievements, and then he came into prominence. And because of being the president. So it's normally people who achieve in ISRO and all remain unknown, but because of circumstances or whatever, he got thrown into, somewhat thrown into politics or whatever, and he became president. And I think that gave him the limelight, and India needed a figure like him. And to top it all, he was a great orator. He talked about inspiring people. He talked about a vision for India. So people saw in him, you know, as somebody who could help.
Was he a feel-good
deliver
guru?
Their dreams, almost like a little bit.
Was he a Shri? You know,
he was a combination of all that.
sense, you know, with that floppy hair and, you know, the fact, was he a bit of a feel-good guru which young India could identify with? I know you said good, a great orator, but his message was simple. You know, he was not a flamboyant orator. He was there was a simplicity in his message.
No, you're right about that, and I think he was a little bit of feel-good figure and all those fuzzy feelings, and he was like this grandpa everybody wanted to have, but at the same time there was some true accomplishments he was backed with. There was a tremendous credibility he came with because of his missile program, because of his presidency being liked, because of his poise, because of the way he carried himself, never a loose sentence said anywhere. And I know he worked very, very hard. I am on the talk circuit too, Rajan, but so let me just tell you, there is no place I've gone for a talk where APJ Saab hasn't come before. And he used to go everywhere. I think he had a goal to meet as many students as possible. I can't go. At 41, I don't have the energy to do more than 3 or 4 a month. But he was pretty much traveling every day. Every day he would be traveling. Sorry, it's raining a lot in Mumbai.
No. Okay, that was a little earlier speaking to Chetan Bhagat as to why APJ Kalam was such a rock star for young India. Let's